Hi and welcome back to another AnyRPG Development Livestream. In these videos you can watch the live development of the AnyRPG Engine, a free and open source role-playing game engine designed in Unity and written in C#. If you don't already have a copy of AnyRPG, you can pick one up from anyrpg.org/downloads in both Unity package and source code format. You can also find A Lost Soul, the free playable game that I work on in these episodes, available for download at the same page. In this episode, we will be adding a number of things to support a new feature. What I want is spider venom. Right now, mobs do have the ability to put status effects on us, but we don't really distinguish between good and bad status effects and different status effect types. And I think it would be cool to be able to have like a type of status effect, for example, called like venom from a spider, and then have a certain item able to heal that. And in this dungeon right here that I'm working on right now, the Temple of Ancient Energy, there's these plants hanging around, and I think it'd be cool if you could get like poisoned by the spiders and then have to go eat the plants in order to cure yourself. So to do that, we'll need to add a couple of things. We'll need to add basically the difference between whether or not a buff is beneficial or not, and that will make it so that we can choose whether or not this buff is removable or not. And we will also need to make a class of things called a status effect type, and that will determine what classes of things you can remove. So you can have an item that can remove only bleeds, or an item that can remove only poison, or an item that can remove only like magic effects, etc. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we'll want to do is create those status effect types. So to do that, we'll go into our resource profiles, and the status effect type is going to be a super simple one. It's literally just going to be a child of describable resource, and I don't even think it needs any properties. All it needs basically right now is just a name, and it already has that, so this will be a public class status effect type. And I mean, I could just make this like an enum, but I want this to be customizable so that, like, for example, a user could define a burn as a status effect type, and only buckets of water heal burns, maybe. That kind of thing. So it's just going to be empty for now. We'll call it new status effect type, and it'll be AnyRPG/status effect type as its asset menu. And that should actually be good enough. And then we'll need to create a folder to put those in, so that'll be under A Lost Soul Shared Resources, and we will create a new folder called Status Effect Type. That's where we're going to store these objects here. Let's create a new AnyRPG status effect type, and we're going to call this one Venom, and the resource name will just be Venom, and literally that's all that we need. And why don't we hit Control D to duplicate Venom, and we'll make the other status effect type bleed, for example. Alright, that looks good. Okay, so now we need a way to be able to load these, so we need a resource manager for that, because all of our resource profiles are loaded through resource managers. So the system weapon skill manager looks good. We can just Control D to duplicate that. And now we will call that the system status effect type manager. And we'll open that up, and open up the singleton, and rename this to system status effect type manager, and system status effect type manager. And just copy that and paste it there and there. And now we can fold up the singleton and set this string to status effect type. And then everywhere here that we see weapon skill, we just want to replace that with status effect type. And then we can save that. And then we need to place this in our game manager. So we'll let that compile, head over to the console, see if there's any errors. No errors, so we'll go open up the Lost Soul Load Game Manager, go to Resource Managers, add component, System Status Effect Type Manager. Now we have a way to retrieve those in the game. So now the next thing that we need to do is make a status effect type on the status effect. So we will go and find our status effect class, and the very first thing that we will do is add a serialized field, and this is a private string status effect type. And then we'll actually call that status effect type name, and then we want a private status effect type. Status effect type equals null by default. And then we will want to look up the status effect type in our setup scriptable objects method. So here we can basically just grab any of this code here, make a few modifications to it. So if status effect type name does not equal null, then for each, we don't need a for each loop because it's just a single one. And this is status effect type, status effect type, and this will be TMP status effect type equals system status effect type manager.myInstance.getResource based on the status effect type name. And if this does not equal null, then the status effect type equals the TMP status effect type. Otherwise, we could not find status effect type. status effect type name while initializing this status effect. Control K, Control F, and save that. Alright, next, now that we have a way to initialize the status effect type on the status effect, I want to add this concept of basically beneficial and not beneficial. So to do that, we'll add a new serialized field. And this will be the private, and we need to make a new enum now. So we have this enum stat buff type, and let's call this status effect. I don't know, you would call this hostility or relation, basically. I'm just going to call it status effect alignment for now. That should be good. So status effect alignment basically is none, beneficial, and harmful. And so here we want this to be a private status effect alignment, and we'll just call it, yeah, status effect alignment. And by default we'll have it as status effect alignment dot none. Okay, good. So now we can choose between beneficial and non-beneficial, and we'll use that to control whether or not we can easily remove these things. And then we can control the types of damage to control what types of items can affect these status effects. Okay, good. So next thing that we want to do is we actually want to go and create a status effect for the spider that he's going to use to hurt us, and it'll be a Venom status effect. So to do that, we will go up to ability effect, status effects, AI, yeah, and create a new AnyRPG abilities effects status effect. We're going to call this one Spider Venom. Set the resource name to Spider Venom. Set the resource description profile to Spider Venom, and we'll have to actually go create that. And it will require a target and a live target. It is only castable on an enemy. We're not going to worry about the range because actually we are. This will be melee range because the spider's going to have to actually bite us to put it on. Let's see, we'll leave, I think, everything else blank for now. We will need to make a tick effect for it. won't have a prefab. Okay, and it's tick rate. So spider venom is going to basically poison us with spider venom every 5 seconds, including immediately when we put it on. So we want to cast the 0 tick. Every 5 seconds it will cast spider venom tick on us, which is a tick, or basically will create that ability. It's a harmful ability. And we don't need to make a sound for now. I might add one later. Now we have the status effect alignment. This is going to be a harmful one, and the status effect type name is going to be Venom. We'll set the duration to 60 seconds. Max stacks of 1. It can be refreshed whenever the spider bites us. Make sure we check a limited duration, otherwise it'll be unlimited. We can leave all this stuff normal. It's not going to mess with our stats at all. And it's not going to stun us or levitate us or anything like that. It doesn't have any reflex or on hits. Okay, good. So that's Spider Venom. Now we want an ability effect, and we want it to be an instant effect, and we want it to be an amount effect, basically an attack effect. So we can just duplicate any old attack effect. And we're going to call this one Spider Venom Tick. Spider Venom Tick. And requires target, live target, can cast on enemy, use melee range. We won't have any hit ability effects. It will have one prefab, and we're going to call that prefab Spider Venom, and we'll make that one in a little bit here. The prefab spawn location will be on the target. The prefab destroy delay will be 0. And the damage type will be ability, and it'll use the health amount, and we're just going to leave the health actual amount blank, because I think just by checking use health amount, it'll automatically base it on his spell power. So this thing will still do a good deal of damage. Okay, that's good. So now let's go make a resource profile for the Spider Venom. And to do that, we will go into Resources, a Lost Soul, Resource Descriptions, Ability, Attack, and we'll call this one Spider Venom. Just Control D to duplicate any other ones that are there. Spider Venom, call this Spider Venom, and now we need an icon for it. So I think I have this spider icon that I've been waiting to use, and it's not that spider icon, so it must be named with like 5 or some other weird number or something. I'll see if I can find it here. It's in one of the best icon sets that I have. There we go. There is the spider. Perfect. Okay. And that's it. So now we need to give our spider the ability to perform that attack and hit us with the spider venom. So to do that, let's go look for the ancient spider. We'll go to the ancient spider model because that's a directory where we'll find him. And I just want to check what animations he has. So he's got a bunch of them. He's got attack 1, and he has attack 2. That's the bite right there. So that's how he is going to apply his spider venom to us. So let's go to the ancient spider. And if we look at the ancient spider attack, we're only using attack 1, and we have ancient spider bite attack already. Perfect. So I actually already created this ability. The bite attack here will have an on-hit ability effect of spider venom. And now he will apply that every time he does his bite attack. Let's give this ability a little bit of a cooldown. Maybe we should have him apply this thing only like every 10 seconds or something like that. So we'll look for the ancient spider bite attack animated ability and set the ability cooldown to 10 seconds. Alright, that looks good. And now our spider, I think, should be able to poison us. If I didn't forget anything. Let's save the game and just try launching it here. And here, we actually want to make sure that it's not only not null, that it doesn't equal string.empty as well. Okay, that's a little better. So we couldn't find this, the prefab profile spider venom. That's because I didn't make it yet. So we're going to go to Venom spell here. Let me just see if I can find what that's from. This is from the Pinwheel Fantasy Effect set from the Unity Asset Store. It's a free set, and we've got this really cool Venom spell. Let's just pop into the scene view here. And this is actually the healing circle that I'm using right now on the ground. I couldn't really find any other good things that look like spider venom though. So let's make our own. So I'm going to go Venom spell, Control D to duplicate. And I'm going to call this one Spider Venom. And we're going to double click to open the spider venom. We are going to uncheck the ray. We're going to uncheck the ring. We are going to go down to the bokeh and remove the renderer and go up to the spider venom here and remove the renderer. And let's restart that. Nope. I think I removed the wrong thing. Okay, let's add the renderer back. Restart that. Okay, so that's the ring on the bottom. That's not what we're looking for. We can actually remove that. We want to go to the bokeh and add the renderer back and restart. Perfect. That's the part that I wanted. Basically, every 5 seconds when you take a Venom tick, you're just going to have like these little green bubbles float up from your character. So that's good. Now we have a spider Venom, so let's make a prefab profile for it. So we're going to go into prefab profiles here, and it will be ability and effect, and I'm going to call this a point effect, because basically a point effect, it just sort of spawns like at a point, usually on your chest. And whoops, we're going to call this one Spider Venom. And we can change the name to Spider Venom and set the prefab profile to Spider Venom. Let's actually just go rename that so we know we made it and call it AnyRPG Spider Venom. And it's going to spawn at a Y position of 1. Everything else looks good. No target bone means it spawns at your feet. And Y position of 1 means it'll spawn more around your waist. So that's good. Now let's try loading the game again. Hopefully we don't get any more errors. Okay, good. So we're going to load up a guy here. And we'll find a guy. I believe I've got Temple of Ancient Energy here. I got a fighter. Looks good. So there's a spider. He's going to come up to us. He's going to hit us. And there, he bit us. And we now have spider venom on us. And it's doing -5 damage. And we just saw that little like bokeh particle thing float up from us. The particles are a little big. Probably actually about 4 times as big as I want. And if we go into combat here, we can see that our Chapter 2 tester takes 5 damage from Ancient Spider's Spider Venom tick. Okay, that is pretty good. Let's just make that little bokeh thing a little smaller. I don't want it quite so big. So to do that, let me just look at my healing circle. I have my AnyRPG healing circle burst. I think that's totally not the one that I'm looking for. I want to shrink down the bokeh a little bit. So actually let's go back to Spider Venom and let's check our simulation space. It's local. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go and set the simulations, or actually it's the hierarchy that I want to set. Scaling mode should be hierarchy. That's what I wanted to do. And then on the bokeh scaling mode, we can set to hierarchy as well. Let's restart that, make sure it didn't break anything. Okay, everything still looks good. Then we can go down to the spider venom here, and I wanted it, let's just try it like half as big for starters. So 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Restart that. I think the bubbles look a little smaller now. Let's just go test that out and see how that's looking. Okay, they still look totally huge, and there's actually a really good reason for that. It's because I'm resetting the scale anyway. So what we want to do, let's just go down to the Spider Venom prefab profile here, and I'm just going to set the scale 0.25 for everything. Save that and press play. Oh, this is a mummy. Right, of course, this is like totally random, so... Okay, good. So now we can go run over, get the spider. Okay, there we go. That's way better. So when those things come out, they're now like totally green. They go kind of flying up a little too fast though. I want them to sort of like gradually go over the player's head. So if we look and reopen this prefab here and go into the bokeh, we can set the start speed. So let's set that to like something way smaller, like 0.1. I still feel like those went way too fast. Let's check the emission. It might just be because it's a texture sheet animation. Let's set that to 0.01 and see if that makes a difference. I think that was a little better. I still feel like, for the fact that I theoretically made it 100 times slower, they're still going pretty fast. Alright, let's go find the spider down here. Alright, there we go. Spider, Venom. You know, it must be because it's a texture sheet animation, because that Venom is still like just flying up off the character. Let's just go take a look at this Partix09 here. I don't think that's got anything to do with it. That's... the bokeh is actually like the particle system. Oh, you know what? Nope, that's not it. So I have no idea why these things are going so slow. I think I'm just going to leave that for now and deal with that later. Let's move on to the part of this where we actually remove the Venom from our player. So to do that, we will want a way to remove a certain class of status effect. And I'm thinking we'll need to add a new type of ability effect class for this. So if we go to the documentation, we can see at the bottom we have a hierarchy of all of our ability effects. And we're just going to make it a child of instant effect. It's going to sit basically down here where we can act on self or on others. And it's going to be called remove effect. So remove effect basically will remove certain types of status effects when it is cast. So let's go find instant effect. Control D to duplicate that. We are going to call it remove effect. And we're going to open it up. And this will be remove effect inheriting from instant effect. And let's see, what do we want on this? We can call this new remove effect under abilities effects, remove effect. We will need a new serialized field, and the serialized field will be a private, what do we want? We want a list of effect types that this thing can remove. So list of type string called effect type names, and we'll make that a new list of string by default. And these are the effect types that this ability can clear. Then we'll need a private list of status effect type called status effect, no, it's actually going to be called effect types. And that's a new list of status effect type. Then let's see, we will want to initialize it with a setup scriptable objects method. And in the setup scriptable objects method, we will want to get references to all of the effect types. So we'll do code a little bit like that. And we need to wrap that in a for loop. And then if our effect type names does not equal null, then for each string status effect type in effect type names, our status effect type is gotten from the status effect type. And if the TMP status effect type does not equal null, then we are going to effect types dot add the status effect type to the list. Okay, so that's good. Now we have references to those. And now what we need to do is when we cast the ability, we want to basically clear any status effects. So let's make a number that tells us the max amount of effects that this thing can clear. So we'll make a new serialized field, and it will be a private int max clear effects equals 0 by default. So 0 is unlimited. So with 0, it will clear all effects. I think by default will only clear harmful effects. Okay, so now we need a way to actually remove the effects, and if we look at instant effect and go to the definition of it, instant effect on cast immediately performs ability hit. So we pretty much want to just override performability hit. So we will make a public override perform ability hit, and we'll call the base.performability hit, and then we will go ahead and start removing things. So our game object is a target, so what we want to do is get a reference to its character unit. So character unit target character unit equals target.get component character unit. And if our target character unit does not equal null, then we want to remove harmful effects from them. So we'll also want to make sure that target character unit dot my character does not equal null, and target character unit dot my character dot my character stats does not equal null. And finally, we can access the character stats. So we want to do a for each loop. This is going to be status effects. So for each status effect in target character unit my character stats dot my status effects. And actually, this is going to return a dictionary of string status effect node. So what we actually want is for each status effect node in my status effects dot values. All right, now that we have our status effect node, if status effect node dot my status effect dot And actually, we want to do this the opposite way around. What we want to do is check if our list of effect type of status effect types matches the status effect type or contains it. So if our effect types dot contains status effect node dot my status effect, and I don't think I have exposed this new status effect type property yet. I haven't. So we are going to expose that, quick actions and refactoring, encapsulate field. And we're going to save that, and now we can access it by my status effect type. So if our list contains that status effect type, and we also need to expose whether or not the status effect is harmful. No, you know what? We totally don't. Remove effects, you could cast it on an enemy and say like remove X number of harmful or like beneficial effects from an enemy. So we actually don't want to limit it to harmful. So what we want to do is basically add this to a list so that we can track the list size, and so that we're not modifying this loop while we're in the middle of it, because that'll basically not work. So we will need to create a new list of status effect, remove effects, and just make that a new list of status effects. And then we want to do remove effects dot add, and we will add, actually, yeah, we can add that. Okay, we will add the remove effects dot add the status effect node dot my status effect to the list. And then we're going to need a counter. So we will also create a new int. Actually, no, we don't need to do that. All we need to do is just check the list size. So if max clear effects does not equal 0 and remove effects dot count is less than actually here we just want to break basically, so we want it to basically be greater than equal to max clear effects, then just break the for each loop. Finally, we want to actually go through and remove them. So we're going to do for each status effect in remove effects status effect dot cancel effect. And let's just go to the definition of that. wonder if we're supposed to be removing that from status effect node dot cancel status effect. Yeah, okay, so what we actually want is we want a list of status effect node. And we'll just add the status effect node. And then we will go through the status effect node, call it status effect node in remove effects, and the status effect node dot cancel status effect. That's better. Now we don't have to send any parameters through. Okay, so now we have a way to clear status effects based on their type. So our status effect may not have a status effect type. So we basically want to make sure that my status effect type there is not null. So essentially this ability requires you to actually have some sort of status effect type defined in order to actually function properly. And I think that's it. So now let's go make the remove Venom ability. So to do that, we will go to ability effects. And we'll put that in a lost soul shared, and these are instant. And I'm just going to make a new subfolder here just to organize. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to call it remove effect. And we will create a new AnyRPG abilities effects and remove effect. And we will call it cure Venom. We'll set the resource name to cure Venom and requires a target, live target, and can only be cast on friendly. It'll also auto self-cast. And it will clear one effect type called Venom. Actually, it'll clear unlimited amounts of Venom. Okay, that's it. So now we just need an ability to be able to cast that. Now, under our base ability here, we have some direct ones here, and I think I actually have potions. Potions are a perfect example of this. So let's see, I think we also have some food abilities. Let's see if I can find those. Action. No. Direct. Right, the food abilities are actually channeled abilities that at the end of the channel perform this. So let's go ahead and do that. If I find this, we have one called Eat Cooked Ham. And I'm going to call this one Eat Ancient Herbs. So with our Eat Cooked Ham ability, we sit down and we eat a cooked ham. This ability, we will call it Eat Ancient Herbs, and refill 100 health per second for 6 seconds. Sure, if you remain seated for the entire time. All Venom effects are cleared. So for the resource description, we should probably make a new one, and we'll need to make a new holdable object for this called Ancient Herbs. Oh, you know what? Control X, put that in there. Holdable object names, Ancient Herbs. Okay, the animation profile sit. Everything else is okay. This is usable without learning. It's just going to be like any other food item. And the channeled ability effects are restore 100 health, so that's fine. And the final ability effect will be Cure Venom, which is that remove effect. Okay, I think that'll actually work. I want to change that meat icon. I'm just going to call it like herbs icon, and we'll actually go make an ancient herbs and a herbs icon. So under our resource descriptions here, just make sure I'm in the right place. We have icons, and we'll do food. I'm going to duplicate this meat icon here. And I'm going to call it the Ancient Herbs icon. Set the resource name to Ancient Herbs icon. And now let's try to find some herbs. Maybe some leaves or some plants. We've got eggplant. Herb was the closest one, but you know what? I think we've got actually some kind of cool plant or herb things in here, like this number 19, this lettuce, that are just not named herbs. So let's just take a quick look through these icons. So far the lettuce is winning in my opinion. Oh, look at this. We have a new one. Yeah, Cure 1, Cure 2, and Cure 3, and we've also got dill. Okay, that's cool. I'm thinking Cure 1. That's kind of a cool leaf there. We also have this grass one over here, but I'm still going for Cure 1. We also have this root one here, mandrake root. That's kind of cool. I'm still going for Cure 1 though. We've got some red peppers and stuff. Some sea buckthorn. But I believe overall, oh look, we have some wheat now too. Okay, we're going to go with Cure 1. I like that. Okay, so the Ancient Herbs icon is going to be Cure 1. Now we need to actually make an Ancient Herbs prefab. So to do that, I need to actually go find the prefab that I want to use here. Let's see if I can find it. This is going to be in the Temple of Ancient Energy. And we'll go into the scene mode here, make sure we're not in 2D, and just go find somewhere in the dungeon, anywhere basically. And we'll go into these rooms over here, because over here there's seaweed and stuff. Okay, perfect. So that's kind of a cool looking plant. I think we can just like basically take this plant and put it in our hands and eat it. I kind of like that idea. So what is this plant called? This plant is called Plant 3, and we can select it, and there it is. I think we need to make our own prefab out of that. So I'm going to pull just Plant 3 over here into the prefab folder, go original prefab, and we're going to call this the AnyRPG Ancient Herbs. And let's just open that up for a second. Looks good. Maybe just set everything. Interesting that the scale is -1. If I hit the scale to 1, let's just see what happens. Still looks good. All right, good. I was afraid that maybe it might go like invisible or something. It appears to totally not really matter though. I think -1 was just set to maybe give them some variety. Okay, so now we've got AnyRPG Ancient Herbs. So now let's make a prefab profile for that. So under our prefab profile, I think we have some food. Got edible ham here. I'm just going to Control D to duplicate the edible ham, and we'll make the ancient herbs. And the resource name will be Ancient Herbs. And the prefab will be AnyRPG Ancient Herbs. And the position 0, 0, 0. Oh, right, yeah. Right click and reset the position. Yeah, I always forget about that one. Scale is going to be 1, 1, 1, and it'll go in the right hand because that's basically where the ham was already going. Okay, good. So now we just basically need to make these into objects that we can pick up. So to do that, we need to make some nodes for them. So let's make some nodes for them. We've got basically some pickup items here. And let's see if we can find some of these. We've got prefabs, interactables, item pickup. This is just the prefab. Let's see if I can actually find them. I think they might be in a Lost Soul shared. Item pickup, perfect. So we've got this bunny food pickup node, which is pretty much exactly what I want to copy here. I am going to hit F2 and call that the Ancient Herbs pickup node. And I'm going to open up that prefab, and basically it's just an empty box with an interactable on it. The prefab profile will be ancient herbs. Then the interactable name will also be ancient herbs, and everything else is okay. It's an item pickup script. It will have 0 prerequisites, and the loot table names will just be ancient herbs. The spawn timer will make them respawn after, I don't know, 60 seconds should be good enough. So now we just need to make a loot table called ancient herbs. So let's go make a loot table. Just hit Control D to duplicate any other old item pickup loot table here that I had. And this will just be called ancient herbs. We'll set the resource name to ancient herbs, and we will have a 100% chance of dropping the item ancient herbs. That's all we need to do for that, and then we need to go actually find the item for uncooked ham, and this is a food item. We are going to want to, you know what, I don't want uncooked ham, I actually want cooked ham. Delete that. Go to cooked ham, Control D to duplicate that, and we will call this the ancient herbs. The food resource name will be ancient herbs, and some tasty weeds or herbs from an ancient temple. The resource description profile, I think I called that the ancient herbs icon, and the ability name, eat ancient herbs. Now let's just make sure that I actually created that ability called eat ancient herbs. Good. Okay, perfect. So now that we've got that pickup node and the prefab profile, what we need to do here is pretty much go wherever these things are, copy the transform component, and let's make a subfolder of interactables, and we'll go create empty, and this one will be called ancient herb pickup nodes, and then we're going to find an ancient herb pickup node, and we're going to pull it into here. We are then going to paste component values, and that totally ended up in the wrong spot. And that's because it did that in relation to this thing right here, not to the floor where it was. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently. We're going to click on the item on the floor, and this is under a vegetation, which is under example scene, which has its position set wrong. So we can fix that basically we will create a new empty, reset the transform on it to 0, call it example scene holder. Then we will go into the example scene and we will drag everything out into the example scene holder. It will retain its exact same position, but it will now be relative to 0. Now, when I actually go in here and look at the plant, I have my example scene holder. My vegetation now needs to be set also relative to 0. So let's just grab all of the vegetation and just drag it out straight into the example scene holder. We'll take vegetation, we will reset the transform on it, and we will pull all of our plants back into the vegetation folder. Now all the plants are relative to 0. So now I can finally click on this plant. I can copy the component. I should then be able to go to my interactables and to my ancient herb pickup node and paste the component values. And it's still way over there. Okay, so let's just see here. So interactables is at 0. Example scene holder is at 0. Vegetation is at 0. You know what? When I clicked on that plant, this plant is actually in relation to plant 3. That's why. So let's just copy plant 3. We will copy that component. Then we will go up to the ancient herb pickup nodes. We'll right click on that and we will paste component values. Finally, okay, good. And now our ancient herb pickup node is right there. I think actually there's a little bit of an easier way to do this though. So let's just like middle click on the ground right there, hit Control D and hit Control Alt F, and same thing there, right click on the ground, Control D, Control Alt F, middle click, and same thing here, middle click on the ground, Control D, Control Alt F, and now we got a bunch of ancient plant pickup nodes. I think I actually want to middle click on the ground right here and Control Alt F. There, now it's a little further down and we'll just move it over there. Okay, so now we can pretty much remove all the plants in this room. I want all the plants to be harvestable, so we're just going to middle click on the ground right there, Control D, Control Alt F, drag it over to where the plant is there. And actually middle click on the ground there, Control D, Control Alt F. Okay, good. So actually I'm going to leave some of the plants as unharvestable. Now I think there's more plants possibly in this room too. Let's just confirm that. We'll head over in here and good, we got some plants. So I'm going to head over here and middle click on the ground, Control D, Control Alt F, put a spawner node over here. Middle click on the ground, Control D, Control Alt F. Have one over in that patch of plants, and let's see, we got some more plants hiding out down here, so I'm going to middle click on the ground, Control D, Control Alt F, get some more plants there, and put one over in this bunch, middle click, Control D, Control Alt F, and then why not over up here with this bunch, middle click on the ground, Control D, Control Alt F, and middle click there, Control D, Control Alt F. Okay, perfect. So now we've got a bunch of plants that we can sort of pick up and eat as we're running along fighting these spiders. And you know what? Why don't we just add maybe some to the front room too? Maybe right there. So Control D, Control Alt F, and then maybe back here against this wall, Control D, Control Alt F, because there's going to be spiders in this room as well. So now we have some pickup nodes that should be able to give us the ancient herbs. The ancient herb is a food. We should be able to eat it, and it should be removing only the poison status effect. Let's go back to the load game manager and try to load this. See if I got everything right. If I didn't, we'll get any errors. Okay, so it looks like I didn't set up a few things here. Okay, so could not find item herbs icon while processing eat ancient herbs. And I think that's because I called it the ancient herbs icon. So in eat ancient herbs, we want to use the ancient herbs icon. Also could not find holdable object aniscent herbs while initializing eat ancient herbs, and that's because it's not aniscent, it's ancient, A-N-C-I. Okay, that's good. We will save that and press play. Okay, so let's load up our game. We will go find our fighter over there in the Temple of Ancient Energy. And that's cool, I see some plants. I'm gonna hit the spider. Ooh, nice. The spider didn't eat me. Okay, perfect. So I got some herbs over here. Oh, I'm gonna have to take out this monkey, or mummy. Alright, so I'm gonna right click on the ancient herbs, and I'm gonna click on take all, and now I have some ancient herbs. Perfect. Let's drag that down and put it on our action bars. And let's save the game, and then go get bitten by the spider. Okay, awesome. So spider's got venom on me now. Alright, good. So 52 seconds left on the venom. Let's save the game and eat some herbs. That thing is like humongous in my hand. Okay, I'm going to want to shrink that down a little bit. And there it is. I got a bunch of health, and the spider venom effect went away. And you can see that I've still got the rest of my buffs, like the bone spikes and stuff. Okay, awesome. That's really cool. And I think I want to do something else here with these spiders. I'm in a dungeon right now, and these spiders are like just total pushovers, and I want to make them like considerably tougher, to the point where that venom is actually like a bit of a threat. So first let's go to the ancient herbs item, and we have our no, we want the ancient herbs prefab profile. Okay, first that herb was huge, so I'm gonna scale it down to like 1/4 of its previous size. Next thing I want to do is I want to make those spiders a little tougher, and to do that we actually need to go to the unit spawn node, and we need to add toughness as a factor that we actually expose. We don't currently do that. So toughness we can find in a couple of places. We can find toughness in our unit profiles. Right there. So we're going to take these properties, we're going to copy them, we're going to move them onto the unit spawn node, and yeah, default toughness is fine. Okay, and then we will want to do a setup scriptable objects call to actually get the toughness and set the reference properly. So Control C to copy that, and head down into our unit spawn node setup scriptable objects method right here, and basically set unit toughness. Perfect. So then when we spawn the unit here, there's actually a point where we can actually pass in toughness already under common spawn here, and we just generally are not passing it in, but we want to do that. So here I think we call common spawn directly from the control panel. I just want to figure that out because, okay, common spawn is called from manual spawn, where we pass in a toughness from the controls panel. So here, this is definitely the automated way. And what we want to do is actually we just want to pass in toughness directly. And in fact, we're actually going to call that unit toughness. If unit toughness is null, then we'll just pass it straight in. If unit toughness isn't null, it doesn't matter. It's going in there. Okay. That should be good. So next thing we need to do is actually go to the Temple of Ancient Energy and go to the Ancient Energy spawners and then just set the unit toughness on them. So we have the Temple of Ancient Energy spawner here, and here we can set our default toughness. We're going to set that to 2-man, and we're going to save the game. And let's press play. And if that worked, then our spiders should be twice as tough. And I think they now have 2,600 hit points, and they're totally just destroying me, and they have the boss icon on there. Okay, cool. Let's just save it down here, and we're just going to pop out to the main menu. And we're going to pop back in and try to get a spawn where all the 3 guys on the first side of the bridge are actually, one of them is a spider. There we go, perfect. We got a spider. Alright, so my spider is now considerably tougher, but the venom on me, it's still not doing a lot, so we'll want to actually make that tougher. But first I'm actually going to have to kill this guy. This is good. Okay, so we're going to click on the plant, we're going to take all the ancient herbs, and let's just save the game and try eating those again. We got a null reference error here. Which is kind of interesting. So essentially that would happen if basically there was no target set here, which okay, well, that's working, and the herbs are now basically the right size. Although they didn't want to come out of my hands, and that's probably because of that null reference, why they just got stuck in there. Cool, so I'm going to go figure that bit out, but, oh, you know what? Look what else. I still have the venom on me. Okay. This ability should have auto self-cast. Let's look at Eat Ancient Herbs. We have it set to auto self-cast. And let's see if it's maybe Cure Venom. And that's also set to auto self-cast. Oh, you know what? Can cast on self. Cure Venom needs to be can cast on self. Okay. Let's try that again. Oh wow, they totaled me. Okay. I'm gonna run away so I only aggro one of these guys at once next time. Let's head down the stairs, save the game, pop out to the main menu, load the game, and we've got another issue here. Interesting, so when we attempted to load the scene node, an item with the same key has already been added. So this is part of the persistent data save thing, and I'm definitely going to have to look at that offline because it was just some code that I got off the internet. In the meantime, let's actually make the ancient herbs even a little smaller. I want them tiny. So we'll go to the prefab profile. Instead of 0.25, I'm going to set them to 0.1. I want them to be like really small in the character's hand. And we'll save that and head back into the game. Take out this spider. Okay, good. So now I'm poisoned. Probably get aggro by this other spider over here. Take him out. Okay, good. And now let's save the game and try to eat some of those herbs. Okay, that's better. So no null reference issue, and you can see the tiny little herbs in my hands, and when I get up, then I get a final boost of health, and I am no longer poisoned by the spider. Perfect. So that pretty much concludes our spider venom episode. These spiders are really cool, and they give us a pretty awesome venom effect. So I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, then don't forget to thumbs up the video, subscribe to the AnyRPG YouTube channel, or just leave a note in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.